What's good, Life and Poetry fam? And welcome back to the channel with your boy, your host, the one and only, Marcus T, this guy. And today we are here with the How to Write a Book Complete Step-by-Step Guide, the series. In this series, we will simply be going over what it takes to put together or to write, to compose a chapter book or a novel or a book of any sort. And this series, we will be breaking down key things throughout the series, key things, key resources, key tools, key pieces of understanding that I believe that you should have, things that I've researched, and I will be implementing in the journey of me doing my book, not my poetry book, which will be book number 3. Hopefully it comes out sometime this year, but the book of my story, basically, in a nutshell. But before we get into all that, I want you guys to be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Once that's done, please be sure to turn on that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we here at Life and Poetry drop a new video. And yeah, there's some stuff supposed to go behind that, but it's all right. It's a new series. Stick with me. This series will be fairly lengthy, guys, so please just stay tuned as we go along. Again, this series will be giving you the rundown in a nutshell of how to write, compose, articulate, illustrate, whatever it may be, your book. So let's get started. Now, Life and Poetry fam, composing a book can be scary. It sounds like it's a huge task. It sounds like you have to do this, that, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, 27, 36, 54, whatever it may be. It's a lot of stuff, it sounds like, and it can be overwhelming. I know. I've written 2 books already, 2 poetry books, which haven't been as lengthy as the book of my story will be. But even with that, it brought its own challenges. And with that, it comes with having a great understanding about what you need what you need to have before you as you go into the journey. So right today, I want to talk to you guys about step number 1, right? Now remember, guys, the thing I want to give you today, just as I've done in the previous series of Poetry 102, Poetry 101, Poetry 102, things that I've learned along the way, things I've researched, things that I believe that you guys can use that will benefit you through your process, through your journey, which will in turn create something great, right? So I want to talk to you guys today about what we consider to be step number 1 into the complete step-by-step guide to writing a book. All right, so I want to tell you guys today about, first and foremost, what you should consider before you write your book. There are a lot of key things that you want to consider when writing your book, especially if you're a first-time writer, right? Once you've been in the game for some time, you pretty much got a groove of how you want things to go, what lane you want to travel through, how you want to build, how do you prep, how do you plan, so on and so forth. But if you're just getting into the swing of things, guys, these are 3 key points that you should have an understanding of as you are approaching the journey to writing your book, right? First, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you have the time and mental energy to commit to writing a book? Do you have time and energy to put into writing a book? Again, it takes time. As we've talked about before in the Poetry 101 series, right? Time is your friend. Time is not an enemy. Time is your friend. You work at your own pace to get done what you want to get done. Use that time. Use that time. Take your time, right? But do you have the time to be able to put aside that will not interfere with your day-to-day movements, your 9 to 5, if you work a 9 to 5, your ability to be with your family, to hang out with your friends, so on and so forth? Do you have the time to write that book, right? In this process, you want to be able to set a schedule and do your best to stick to it. And I say those words, do your best. And I won't say you have to definitely stick to it, because I would be remiss if I said that that's what I do, because I don't. You guys know that I pretty much break all the rules. I try to break every rule I can as I'm writing, because I don't like rules. I don't like to be confined to things. But there are times and instances such as like when you first come up and when you first are jumping into the thing and you first up and back, ready to take the swing, do you have time to do so? Is your eye on the ball, right? Do you have your end game? Are you ready to process everything that's happening? Do you have time for yourself to put out, to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to set this a lot of time aside to write a paragraph, a sentence, this, a that, the third, or the fourth, right? All those things come into fruition as you're approaching this process here, right? Do you have time and mental energy to write the book, right? The second question I want you to ask yourself is, are you prepared to develop potentially unfamiliar skills like self-editing and rewriting? If you are publishing a book yourself, 9 times out of 10, you aren't going to an outside source editor because you don't have the resources that the big the publishing companies have, which is they're going to outsource yourself to editors, so on and so forth. If you have those resources, use them. I strongly encourage you to use them, to have an outside eye, like a second opinion on what you can improve, what you make a change, how you can formulate or form or morph things for a clearer picture as you're painting, as you're going through that process there, right? And rewriting, there are going to be times where there's going to have to be 5 or 6 rewrites, and that's okay. It's all about the process. And remember that this process is not a sprint, it is a marathon. I'm going to say that throughout this series here so that I can keep reiterating it to you guys so that you guys can remember that this process here is a marathon, not a sprint. You stand it for the long run because remember, time is your friend, right? You take the time that you need to be able to formulate and put together your blueprint as you're writing your book, as you're writing anything creatively, whatever it may be, right? So are you prepared to develop those unfamiliar skills, self-editing, rewrites, brainstorming, structural planning, whatever it may be? If you aren't using these skills beforehand, you're going to have to tap into. And it's okay. You're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to learn things about the creative process. You're going to learn things about the developmental process, so on and so forth, as you go through this process here. Again, marathon, not a sprint. Learn it, get familiar with it, and allow it to work for you as you work with it, okay? The last question I want you to ask yourself is, do you have a basic grasp on your main characters, plot, or subject matter? Now, most stories have a main character, an antagonist, protagonist, whatever those words may be. I think antagonist, protagonist. Do you have that understanding, at least a basic, a foundation of how you want those characters to be built up? As you're writing your story, those characters may start small and evolve bigger, and they may grow or they may shrink in context. But do you have the foundational principle to be able to articulate that in the text? Again, take your time as you're developing these characters here, whether it's a fictional story or a story about self, memoir, autobiography, a biography, whatever it may be. If you're writing it, make sure you have those things in detail. Make sure you map them out, right? If you're the main character, right, you are the foundation. If you are the main character, you are your own foundation. Use it, dive deep, get an understanding of how you want yourself to be portrayed in the text. Give yourself grace on how you want to develop the character as you're moving forward, so on and so forth. Again, do you have a basic grasp or concept, right? Now, remember, time is your friend, right? Take all the time you need. You do not need to have all these things worked out. It's okay if you only have pieces and pieces and pieces. It's just like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You find the corner piece and you build from it. Or some people might want to build from the middle or go out. I applaud those people who can do that. I'm a person, I need to build borders first. If I got my border in place, I can put the puzzle together. But some people move differently, and that's okay. But you do not need to have all these things worked out in the beginning. But it is imperative and helpful that you have at least some type of understanding or idea of how you want to shape and how you want to shape the character, the plot, the scene, the narrative, what direction you want it to go into, so on and so forth. Make sure all these things are implemented before you even pick up your pen and put it to paper and start doing a draft, right? In your brainstorming session, think about your characters, your plot, subject matter, the scenery, your senses, who, what, when, where, why. That's what senses, what? senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, those things there, right? And also think about your who, what, when, where, why, and how. Right? All those things with the 5 W's, your senses. Put all those things into perspective as you're going through that brainstorming process, as you're building your blueprint to do your draft. Right? Now again, there's so much stuff to go into this here, right? So I want you to take these things here as you're going into it, and to try to implement them into your day-to-day process as you're going through that, with the understanding of how to formulate your text, your book, you want to put it in perspective, so on and so forth. These 3 major questions here. Do you have time, mental energy to commit to writing a whole book? A whole meaning the entire book, right? We know that essays are shorter than writing a chapter book. Some people can knock an essay out in a day, right? You may not necessarily be able to knock a whole book out in a day. If you can, more power to you. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure to do so. And I'm going to say it's virtually impossible to do. Question number 2, are you prepared to develop new skills? Proofreading, rewriting, editing, self-editing, all those things there to compose your book, to get the best idea, to get the best work, to get the best outcome possible for the work you want to put out to the people, to your readers, to your audience. Make sure that it's intact. You open your mind up, allow yourself to challenge, allow yourself to challenge your mind and your mind to challenge you. Learn those new skills, develop those new traits, those new habits as you walk into that process. And last but not least, do you understand the basics, the backbone, the foundation of your characters, your plots, the subject you're writing about, the scenes, where you want to go, so on and so forth. These are foundational principles or questions that you want to ask yourself. I cannot reiterate that enough. These are the foundational principles and or questions that you want to ask yourself as you are preparing to write an entire book, or to write a book in general. Time, development of new skills, understanding. All of those things come into play when writing a book. Life and Poetry fam, as we dive through this series here, we would dive deeper and deeper into understanding the process of writing a book, how to write a book, the principles needed, so on and so forth, throughout this series. Now, this will be a lengthy series here, in episode, but hopefully not in duration. I want to give you enough to get started, without overwhelming you or overloading you with information. So it's going to be broken down, as my mentor would say, in a way that a second grader can understand it, right? In the most basic way possible. And again, guys, if you don't want to, always challenge yourself and challenge me. Go research for yourself. Find what works for you. My plan may not work for you. The things I'm giving you today may not work for you, but they may work for somebody else. Or you may pull something from here and say, okay, I can pull this here and use this for myself, but not the rest of the stuff. That's okay. Challenge yourself to be better. Every day you pick up your pen. Every day a thought hits your mind. Allow yourself to evolve and grow in your writing, in your work, in your illustration, whatever it may be, right? Always remember this one principle. No matter what, keep writing. Just keep writing. Life and Poetry fam, the next episode, the episode that follows one here, we will be discussing simply we will be discussing introduction to simply how to write a book. After that introduction, we will break down 9 elements to writing the book. So that's again, the series may be long in episode, but hopefully not in duration. But we will be breaking these down so that you guys can get an understanding on what needs to be done. If you are venturing out to write a book, if you want to venture out to do something creative, so on and so forth, let me know and I'll work with you to the best of my ability. And if I can't get the answer, I'll resource out to find it for you, and I'll help you find it for yourselves. My goal is to make sure you have enough information to get started, at least to get started, so that you can open your wings up and begin to fly. So until next time, Life and Poetry fam, remember to stay safe, be blessed, and no matter what, continue to write. So until next time, we out. Peace.